Okay, in this video, we're going to go over the area of a sector of a circle. Now, let's talk about a couple definitions first, right? And actually, we're going to actually also solve the problem, what is the area of a sector with an arc of 110 degrees? Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. We're trying to figure out what the area is here in the shaded part, where the arc AC is 110 degrees, right? We know a couple things. We know that the diameter of this circle is 16 units, okay, which makes the radius equal to 8 units. I'm just going to write that down because I think it might be helpful later on. And what else do we know about this? I think that's pretty much all we need, okay? So let's talk about how do you find the area of a circle and therefore the area of a sector. Now we know that the area of a circle has a formula. Let me just write this down real quick. Area of a circle is equal to pi r squared, right? Right? And we know that the r in this case was 8, and we know that pi is just 3.1415, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but it's also equal to 22 over 7. Now, different people, different teachers expect different levels of exactness. Just ask your teacher which one of these two numbers you should use, okay? Or sometimes they just leave it with pi. You treat pi as like a variable, okay? So any one of these three would actually work. So we know that the area of a circle is equal to pi r squared, okay? What else do we know? We know that the circumference of a circle, right, is 360 degrees. Now, why is that important? Well, we know that a lot of math is worked on proportions, right? So we know that if the whole circle is 360 degrees and we have an area that's bounded by 110 degrees, it would make sense that we could compare the circumference of a circle to the measure of the arc, and that should be proportional to the area of the sector to the area of the circle, right? Let me say that again. We know that this particular area is really a proportion of 110 degrees over 360 for the whole circle, which would probably be proportional to the area of the sector to the area of the circle. So that's one way we could actually figure this problem out, right? So let's go ahead and start doing that. So step one, we know that the arc of this circle, in this particular case it's arc AC, is 110 degrees. And we know that the circumference of the entire circle is 360 degrees, right? Now, do we know what the area of this circle is? And we would put that down here. The area of the circle is pi r squared. We were given that the diameter was 16, so therefore the radius should be 8. So let's just go ahead and put this in over here on the side. Pi 8 squared, which would give us 64 pi. Notice I put the pi afterwards. Just treat it like it's a variable. It's probably the easiest way to go. Now, if you needed to multiply this out, if the teacher wants something more exact, you go 64 times 3.14, or 64 times 22 over 7 is actually the most accurate. And I'm just leaving it as pi is okay as well. So I'll just say 64 pi. And that should be proportional to this area of the sector. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can solve this. Well, we know with proportions you can just do cross products, right? So we know that 64 pi times 110 should be equal to 360 times the area of the sector. So let's just write that down. 64 pi times 110 degrees should be equal to 360 degrees times the area. I'm just going to do it this way, area of sector, okay? Then what we would do is we would divide both sides by 360, and we should come up with the area of the sector. So let me just write all this out first. Times 110 over 360 degrees. Degrees are going to cancel out degrees, and I'm going to come up with the area of the sector, right? So let's just do some multiplying. We know that, let's just put this up here. There we go. 64 pi. Turn this on first. There we go. Clear. 64 times 110 gives me 70. 40 times pi. And then I'm going to divide that by 360. That gives me, let me just do that, 19.55. You probably can't see it very well, but it says 19.555 repeating. So I'll just say 0.56. That's my step 4. Let me see, area of the sector, area sector. 19.56 pi will be equal to the area of the sector. Okay. Now, again, you can use 22.7 for your pi. You can use 3.14 for your pi. You can round this down to one figure. It really just depends on how accurate your information is over here. Okay, so we'll just leave it as 19.56 for right now. Okay, I hope that was helpful.